Hello everyone and welcome to Monaco, where I see the Monaco antics have already started down here at the Nouvelle Chicane. This is the TC Legends Classic Touring Car Championship, the good, the bad and the ugly for touring cars from the 1960s and 1970s. I have finally worked out how to switch from one camera to another without having to click on the screen, meaning it's going to be a much cleaner broadcast today than you're used to, and that is extra important since Monaco is a very exciting track for racing. Things can happen very, very quickly, and we're currently in qualifying, waiting for the first few flying laps to be set. We've got some returning names, some new faces as well, and just to remind you, the championship standings coming into this round are Lons, followed by Kirilov, Van der Geest, Lacker, Jones, Galuzzi, Talviti, Riskus, Martikainen and Brown, the top 10. I'll remind you again after qualifying, but that is Laurent Lons leading the championship from Kirilov and John Van der Geest, the top 3. We're currently watching Michal Majerek, who is only 11th in the championship after a poor start to the season. The Alpha GTA hasn't appeared to be the best kind of car, but Monaco is one of the most unique circuits on the calendar. So if any circuit's going to favour unusual cars, it's going to be this one. Majerek pulling over to the right-hand side of the track to avoid the awkward bump. Let's go back a little while down the course. My apologies for the quick changing of the cameras. And watch Lorenzo Galuzzi as he takes us around a full lap of this Monaco Grand Prix circuit as it was back in the 1970s. Specifically 1972, this race circuit is based on. Here's Saint-Devote, which used to be a much wider corner than it is now. You didn't have the curb keeping the cars from cutting it, meaning you could do a lot more heroic style into there than you can nowadays. Up the hill towards Massenet, and the Casino Square will be the next right-hander. As Jeffrey Riskus, meanwhile, last time out's winner put in the first representative lap time in qualifying, 1:44.403. Here's Mirabeau as you head down the hill. Lorenzo Galuzzi, of course, in a Toyota 2000 GT. Heading through the lowest hairpin, the slowest corner on the calendar. Didn't see exactly how slow he was going through there, but it was very, very tight. Portier brings you out towards the Monaco tunnel, which used to start a lot later than it does now. It was a much shorter tunnel back in the day. Partly because it was shorter, and also partly because Portier, I think, was actually slightly earlier. Now watch this chicane. This is one of the main things that has changed since the 70s. As you go and slot through two very tight barriers, it's much later than the chicane is nowadays. Through to back, keep it out of the concrete wall on the outside. That would not be a very comfortable landing. And then into what was then the final hairpin, known as La Rascasse. Now, of course, has much more apexes than it did back in the day. And that is a lap of the Monaco Grand Prix circuit on board the Toyota 2000 GT of Lorenzo Galuzzi. Let's go back and see who else we can see about set up. Jose Branco hasn't set a... Actually, he's P12 as it stands in the BMW. Let me talk you through a few of the cars we have in this series, actually, because I always say one of the main things I love about this series is just the massive variety of cars we have. We've already seen the Toyota 2000 GT. Here is the BMW 2002. Branco, of course, in the past was driving a Lotus Cortina, although dropped out. Max Shepard, new face in this series. She hasn't participated in any of the rounds so far and has just returned from a few months off SimRacingOnline. I think her last race with us was maybe about a year ago when she did the GPL series, so great to see my good friend Max Shepard back, and I am very pleased to say that I have enticed her back, and it is all my doing. But anyway, it's still great to see her in the field, and she is driving one of the BMW 2002s. Here is Vasilis Doumanas in the Ford Escort number 33. The Escort, one of the most variable, one of the most what's the word? Adaptable cars in the field. And I recently saw Escorts racing at Brands Hatched, actually. I was at Brands at the weekend, and there were many different types of Escort there. battling it out for their respective class victories. The Porsche 911 is expected to be one of the fastest cars, especially in qualifying. Of course, it's rear-engined, which should help, or mid-engined rather, which should help with its cornering ability, as Lorenzo Galuzzi goes up to 4th in the order. We do have even more cars. We've seen the Alfa GTA, Michal Majerek, John Van der Geest with the wonderfully liveried Ford Escort. I love how rusty that car looks. Oh, bounces off the barriers a bit. Here we have a Ford Mustang. Bill Grucock, when he was last in this series, because I think he missed the last round, was actually driving the blue Ford Mustang that I think our provisional pole sitter Jeffrey Ruskas will be driving today, as Max Shepard now goes up to 4th place. Good job from her. Van der Geest back in the pits. Maxime Tendil has an Austin Healey. These Austin Healeys, beautiful British cars from the 1960s. Great to see every single time, and actually looked pretty promising last time out. Ignore the Mini in the pits. That is not a car that will be racing with us. Jeffrey Ruskas currently has provisional pole in his Ford Mustang. Of course, he won last time out at Interlagos, so he will definitely be the driver to beat today in that massive rear-wheel drive Mustang. What's Andy Yates in? He is in another Mustang, currently 17th in in this order. The Mini will not be racing. There's Kimi Martikainen in the huge, absolutely massive Mercedes AMG 300 SL, or SEL rather. And I think that may be it, because I don't think we have any Datsun 510s here. I was expecting to see at least a couple of Mazda RX-3s, so this would be the first round without any RX-3s if they haven't turned up indeed. But don't take my word for it, because there may be cars that we haven't seen out on track yet. So there's Vasilis Damanas. I want to have a look at someone, with no disrespect to Damanas, who is slightly more competitive in this field. Talviti appears to be getting a little bit held up on this lap, indeed just backing off to get himself some clean air, and in fact going into the pit lane. Let's look at, oh there you go, we do have a Mazda RX-3 today. This is Ted Ho in the rotary powered Mazda. Oh my god. Oh, that was close there, with an Escort just poking its nose out from inside the barriers. Hopefully that didn't cost Ted too much time. Ted Hur is a close friend of Max Shepard's, and it was Mac who introduced him to this league, so I suppose technically that means I did as well, since I enticed Mac back. Anyway, across the line goes Ted, and that is no improvement. I think he's just about to start a lap, actually, is Ted. Currently 7th, so not that bad. 3 spaces behind his friend Mac. Although 0.6 of a second in it. Actually, probably closer to half a second, but still. And with 4 minutes to go in this session, the order is Ruskas, Lons, Majerek doing a great job in 3rd place. That's the strongest we've seen the Alpha perform this season. Then it's Shepard, Galuzzi, Lacquer, Hurt, Johnson, Van der Geest and Talviti, the top 10. And then everyone else following on. I'll be able to read you. Oh, it has a big slide, and that'll ruin that lap. So this won't be an improvement for him. Bill Grucock there is 16th as it stands. Shaba Lacko is 6th, so Shaba in the Escort may be one of the more competitive drivers. You'll notice the number 33, which is a little bit confusing since there is actually another Escort in this field which is also number 33. And now Lacko backs off. Max Shepard here, running immediately behind him and now ahead of him. Manages to get through it cleanly, which is good to see. Max Shepard, one of the 5 drivers within a second of the leader, if you count the leader. So I suppose 4 drivers within a second of the leader, discounting him. It's actually very close for the lead at the minute between Ruskas and Lund. Less than half a tenth of a second between the two of them, so we could have a real fight on for pole. Martikainen's just set 2 purple sectors in a row, but has gone back to the pits. That's, well, purple subsectors rather, not actual full sectors. Yeah, he's gone back to the pit, so that won't be an improvement on that lap. Now, what does Shepard do? I'm not actually sure if he is on a lap or if he's about to start one. Sometimes the times can get a little bit messed up. And yeah, he was on an outlap there, so... Oh, sorry, she was on an outlap. So Max Shepard starting another flying lap. Oh, very slidey into Sandoval, but saves it. Heads up the hill, and that won't have costed too much time, to be honest, because these cars do have a habit of getting sideways. Ruskas improves his pole position time. He's now almost 0.3 of a second faster than Lund, and Galuzzi improves his time in 5th as well. Now goes back to the pits. Shepard turning into Mirabeau. Got a little bit of traffic coming up ahead. That's Bill Grucock, although I think that she's going to have a clear enough road to get away with it. Under the arch. That arch actually no longer there, or at least not as it was back in the day. You used to go over a bridge at that point, although the ground considerably more solid in the present day, 2020. Down the hill, it's difficult to get your braking right here, and even tougher to get your turning point right. Through the Armco, manages to keep it out of the wall, over a massive bump on the entry of Tabac. That's no longer there these days, and a good thing too, because that seems very, very dangerous. Just one more corner to go. May even get a little bit of... Oh, as Ho goes up to 3rd. Goodness me. Great lap from Ted Ho there. Now what can Shepard do about jumping back onto the front 2 rows of the grid? Max Shepard crossed the line up to 4th, so she does get back up onto the first 2 rows of the grid, but does not improve on Ted Ho's time. Shabalako, no improvement for him. Same goes for John van der Geest. Vasilis Dumanas is out of the top 15 as it stands and stays there. Here comes Laurent Lons. What's Lons done with this lap? This is supposedly a competitive lap, although actually it's a long way down on his lap. So let's actually watch Lons, because this next lap could be his last chance of snatching pole position away from Jeffrey Ruskas. And judging by the times that everyone else has been setting, possibly anyone's last chance of snatching it away from Jeffrey. Up the hill, through Massenet, clips the curb, keeps it on a solid line though. This is looking okay from Lon. Sadly, I won't be able to check up on his sector times much. Looks as if he's just about 1/10 of a second down. I'm not sure whether that's on himself or on Ruskas. One of the two, so not the best first sector, and I think a lot of that time would have been lost by clipping the curb through Massenet. Although still, this could be an important lap if he can find a couple of tenths in the middle or last sector. Not impossible at Monaco. It's all about bravery here and about judging your gaps. There's a tough gap to judge coming up soon. This, I expect, will be the accident black spot of the track, the Nouvelle Chicane. Here we go then for Lons. Lons 6/10 down. Again, I don't know whether that's on himself or his or Ruskas, but it's not looking good for Lons here. I think he may have to settle for 2nd on the grid and hope that no one else jumps him. Shabalako goes up to 5th. That'll be the best that he can start. Final corner for Lons, and I think that this is not going to be an improvement from the BMW driver. But we shall see. I've been proven wrong in the past. Crossing the line. No improvement for Lons, so he stays 2nd. Is anyone else still yet to cross the line? Mazurek, with a great qualifying performance so far, stays 6th, and that is the lot. So if we look at the times, Jeffrey Ruskas has pole position by 0.276 of a second from Laurent Lons. Ted Hart, Max Shepard. So an all new row 2 of the grid there with Ho and Shepard. Shabalako is P5. Actually, I should say, Ho and Shepard, I said in the past they were friends. They consider themselves more rivals. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Shabalako is 5th, Michal Mazurek is 6th. Then it's Lorenzo Galuzzi, Mark Johnson, John Van der Geest, Sid Drake, Tony Talviti, Jose Branco, Maxime Tendel, Kimi Matikainen, Bill Grucock, Vasilis Domanas, and Andy Yates. And I think that's the lot. So 17 drivers here. That's the smallest grid we've had this season, but that's saying a lot because, well, it says a lot about the attendance we've had so far in this season, because 17 drivers is not a bad number at all. Now remember, in terms of the championship, I read it out earlier, but if you're just joining us, it's Lauren Lund's leading the championship, so he's hoping to score as many points as he can there in second place, followed by Kirill Kirilov, who I don't think is here today. Indeed, so Kirilov missing, and that is a big shame in terms of the championship fight. It looks as if Lund is going to build up a lead here, unless John van der Geest can do anything, because John van der Geest is third in the championship. Shabalako, fourth in the championship. Then it's Glyn Jones, Lorenzo Galuzzi. Actually, where's Glyn Jones starting? Jones is not here either. That's a shame. So a couple of front runners missing. Galuzzi 6th in the championship, 7th on the road. Tony Talviti 7th in the championship, having only made one event and won it. That was the first round. And I don't think... Oh, Tony is back. Okay, that's good. Good to see him back. I'll be interested to see the battle between Talviti and Ruskas unfold in the championship, because they both have one win each, although that was not a good qualifying position for Tony Talviti. Now luckily we won't have to miss the start this round, because I know how to switch the cameras to see the leaders, which is important. But anyway, I'm following Talviti and Ruskas in the championship. Kimi Martikainen and Phil Brown round out the top 10. There have actually been 27 drivers who have started races in this championship so far. 17 of them are about to get going. So here come the lights. You see 6 red lights there. It's not like the 5 we have in Formula 1, but it's the same in that, and when they go out, we will be underway here at Monaco. And it's go! So who will get the jump into turn 1? Let us find out. Jeffrey Ruskas gets a decent start, although look at the master of Ted Ho coming to the left-hand side. Ho, I think, is going to be second, heading up the hill. Ooh, possibly some slight contact. Oh, there is contact! And a couple of cars bouncing off the wall. Goodness me! We've got a Porsche in the wall. There was, I think it was a yellow BMW that got caught out initially. Max Shepard's lost a lot of places. And I think Sid Drake has got off really badly there. Now, I want to find out who the yellow BMW was, because I'm sure it was they who kicked off the incident. I may have missed. I think it was Lund. I think it was Lund from second on the grid. Now that is a big... That's a big shock for Lund there. Oh, slight contact between Shepard and Martikainen. They're fighting over 9th place now, so Shepard really did not get a good start in that BMW. Remember, she started 4th. Has now dropped down. So what can Ted Ho do on his first round of the championship? Can he make a good impression on this series? If qualifying's anything to go by, then yes. But what can he do about Jeffrey Ruskas for this first position in the order? Down the hill they go into the... And look at the gap they built out to Michal Mazurek in 3rd place there. That's due to the first lap incident. Didn't see exactly how it was caused. Oh, and there's more contact, and Mazurek's around, and Lund's around as well. And I think there's going to be a pile-up. And Van der Geest is stuck, and other drivers are getting stuck as well. Branko's glitching through the floor. Max Shepard's pointing backwards. And there's absolute carnage down here at the chicane. Sadly, I was expecting that to happen. Shepard's struggling to get going again. And this is not what I wanted to see. Oh, Branko! Goodness me, Branko really needed to be more careful of the yellows there. He knew that there was an accident going on. He could see it easily. Don't end up in the C-Mac. Goodness me, that's going to be close. Spin 10 it round. Bounce off the wall. Not so nicely done, but still carries on. Actually, my apologies to Branko. It wasn't Branko who got further involved in that incident. It was Sid Drake. But anyway, oh, sideways for Martikainen. Goodness me. Getting a sense of deja vu there as Talviti gets up into 7th position. Oh, and Lund gets caught out again. That's the 3rd time today he's been involved in an incident. Looks as if he tried to take it too tight and just bounced off possibly the cameraman there on the inside lane. And Ho's having an incident, is he? No, I think he was just so slow into the hairpin through no fault of his own that the game registered him as being stopped. That's how slow it is into the chicane there. But anyway, it's Ruskas, Her, Lacko, Johnson, Galuzzi, Van der Geest, Talviti, Martikainen, Mazurek, and Dumanas. And the biggest loser after that first lap has to be Max Shepard, who dropped from 4th to 17th, which is very, very unfortunate and upsetting to see. But anyway, so it's a 1 hour race, still plenty of time to make up positions again. And I can't say it was particularly not expected that there was going to be an accident like that on the first lap, or a couple of accidents like that. And I should point out, actually, Laurent Lons is going to be losing a lot of points in the championship at this rate, because some of his main rivals are ahead of him. Van der Geest is 6th, Galuzzi is 5th, so there are going to be some big winners from this, and I'm actually not sure who would be leading the championship if they were to finish this round like this. A couple of fastest laps coming in as expected. Talviti going for Van der Geest. This is for 6th position. I was surprised to see Talviti qualify as low down as he could. Maybe he just couldn't get a clean lap in. But if he can find a way past Van der Geest, he will have a perfectly clean track to show us what he can do with. Up the hill again, through the glamorous and scenic streets of Monaco, known as a tax haven and a place for the rich. 1/3 of the population of Monaco are millionaires, and the other 2/3 are downright close. Meanwhile, Lons has got back up into 11th position, so gaining some points back at least, but he's still really struggling here, as more places are lost for Dumanas. So Dumanas not having the greatest of laps. He's been passed by Andy Yates in the massive Mustang. Can't imagine the Mustang's the greatest of cars to drive here, although it seems to be doing okay since Jeffrey Ruskas is leading the race. Goodness me, that was understeery there into the Lowe's hairpin. But keeping it under control. Mazurek on the back of Martikainen. 8th and 9th positions. Let's see if they manage to make it through the chicane cleanly this time. I don't see any cars stopped ahead of them, so that's always a good sign. I assume that what happened on the first lap was just that 2 cars didn't fit into one, and look at Martikainen there making a mistake on the exit. Didn't get a good exit at all. Almost went into the sea, and Talviti went through. I'm actually not sure if you can go into the sea there, if the game will let you. But anyway, I wouldn't want to be the person who tries to find out. So, first 5 minutes gone already. Ruskas now leading by almost 2 seconds over her, who's still got that 2nd place. Lacko is 3rd, followed by Johnson. I've just got a comment from someone on Discord saying, watching the big boy Mercedes, oh sorry, I think probably referring to the Mustang, through the hairpin is amazing. Indeed it is. Let's watch the Mercedes through the hairpin this time around to see just how Martikainen deals with the immense weight and the long wheelbase of the car. Ooh, look at the understeer through Mirabeau there. Nicely slowing it down into the hairpin, but you do have to slow it down so much into there. There's now a 10-second gap between her and Lacko for 3rd place, although her really sticking with Ruskas. Goodness me. Less than a second in it now. The Mazda really starting to come of age. Short wheelbase on the Mazda gives it an advantage, around the streets of Monaco. The Mustang probably good on acceleration, but surely it'll have to be so early on the brakes, especially into corners like Saint-Devote, which we're about to see. Fastest lap being set there by Ted Hurt. And I think there's been an incident for Martikainen. Yes! Martikainen very slow into the chicane, and I think he probably had to slow it right the way down to avoid going straight on or hitting the barrier. Look at... Oh my word! Did you see the Mustang in the background getting right up on 2 wheels? That was crazy there. On 3 wheels, rather. Tripoding the car around. I want to see that again. That was Andy Yates. Oh, sideways! keeping it under control. There's another Mustang coming through if he's not careful, Bill Grewcock. I've never seen a car tripod like that in a touring car race before. That was absolutely crazy. Oh, and he's in the wall. Oh my goodness. And we've got a Mustang mounting another Mustang. And through goes Tyndall. Does he keep it off the cameraman? Yes, he does. So Tyndall makes the move stick up into 12th place. That was a great double overtake from him. Very opportunistic. Max Shepard getting involved as well. Good recovery so far. But that was just Ender Yates getting into the wall on the exit of Sainte Devote. And Bill Grewcock not being able to avoid him and going right over the back of that Mustang. And that puts Vasilis Doumanis now down to the back of the field somehow. But anyway, let's look a bit up the field because Galuzzi is now close to Johnson. Haven't seen much of this fight yet. And look at that, up the inside of Tabak. Johnson was a little bit squirrely. Oh, and in the wall! Johnson clips the first part of the barrier, the end of the stairs, and spins the Porsche around. Now, I don't think he's going to get any damage from that, but definitely going to cost him some time, and it cost him that 4th position to Lorenzo Galuzzi, so that's a change of place. Now we've got Van der Geest and Talviti back. Oh, and Johnson, I keep getting... So let me explain actually why I keep taking intakes of breath. When a car is registered as having stopped or had an incident or something, their name turns red on the left-hand side of the screen. You may have noticed that, although sometimes it just does that if the car's going too slowly. And with the sheer number of slow hairpins here, and I think there has been an incident between Doumanis and Yates there. But as you can see there, Tyndall was not having an incident, but he was just going so slowly through the hairpin that the game thought he had done. And put his name as red. Which is annoying. But anyway, Max Shepard around the outside. Goes up into 13th position. Number 465 on that Austin Healey. I don't think I've ever seen a number that high in a touring car race before either. But anyway, so Shepard now back up into 12th place. Definitely top 10 still on the cards for her. Come back, let's see if you can get a... Let's say top 6. That seems like a good but very opportunistic, or sorry, very optimistic goal, that's the word. Sorry, I don't know why I'm struggling to think of that word. Still can't think of the word I was trying to think of earlier. Kind of like adaptable. Never mind, it'll come to me. So, once again, Ruskas and Ho back together. It seems they're slinking around like an accordion. It goes up to 2 seconds, it comes down to 1 second. It goes up to 2 seconds, it comes down to 1 second. And surely Ted Hur might well start getting a little bit feisty back there. Maybe a little bit carried away. Needs to make sure he doesn't lose his head. Into the hairpin. Ted Hur taking a brilliant line through there. Hanging the tail out slightly, using the throttle almost to steer the car. That's how you're supposed to do it. Look how close he is to the tail of that Mustang through Portier. But the trouble he has is that the Mustang's so fast in a straight line that there's just no way through. The straight line's the way you overtake here. I think probably his best chance might actually be down into Larascas. But he'll need to get a really good exit to Tabak. Here is Tabak. The Mustang very bouncy and bobbly through there, and look at that, Ho is side by side with him. Now, Ruskas is going to have to brake earlier for Larascas here. Ho will be on the outside line, but it's a tight corner. They just get away without touching. Ho, wow, very sideways, but gets the switch back. Gets underneath him, they do bang doors. And he will have the inside, and they bang doors again, and he'll have the inside for Sainte Devote. Here they go, and they bang doors a third time. Ho is on the right-hand side, he's in the yellow Mazda, which takes the lead, and there's more contact as Ruskas gives him a little nudge up the hill. Now what can Ho do about getting him back again? What about on the slight straight? down to Mirabeau, possibly. Oh, he's taking a look to the outside as well. Who says you can't fight at Monaco? Now this little straight here might be an opportunity for Ruskas in the future if he can get close enough, but it's difficult because of the profile of Mirabeau 10. I think Johnson's just lost 2 places. Yeah, he has. So Johnson's just, I think, spun and maybe dinked it off the barrier a bit. Let's ride on board, see if his steering's okay. It's difficult to tell because he's steering pretty much all of the time, but I think it's probably okay. Little fight going on between Martikainen and Shepard. Martikainen stays 11th. I don't want to miss anything between Ruskas and her there. Oh, Talviti up to 5th. And Van der Gies gets it back again. So they were side by side through Mirabeau, which we just missed. And the leader's now back within a tenth of a second. And I'm so nervous. Oh, sorry, back within half a second. And I'm so nervous that I'm going to miss something. Because this game only shows you an overtake pretty much the sector after it's already happened, which isn't very helpful. Looks like Shepard's got back up to 11th. This is where Jack Brabham crashed in 1970 while going for the lead on the last lap. But her and Ruskas under control. And her, well, we're in the first quarter of the race, so I think it's too early to call, but if he were to win this, he would be the 3rd winner in 3 races. Ruskas, though, still within a second of him through every checkpoint they go through. Her there set 2 fastest sub checkpoints. Martikainen's been slow. Ooh, that was close as Drake, I think, got a little bit sideways. So Tyndall up to 10th now, Grokok up to 13th. What's happening with Dumanas and Yates? They swap places, I think, about a checkpoint ago. How now getting away from Ruskas. 1.6 seconds is the gap between them. It's the biggest it's been when they're in this order, this way around. Now we're watching Talviti, who has only just got past Johnson. Is slowing, is he? Talviti looks as if he's pulling off to the side of the road. And I can't think why, because I don't think Assetto Corsa has programmed mechanical difficulties, so maybe he felt that he'd... I wonder whether there was maybe contact between Talviti and Johnson that forced Johnson into a spin, and maybe he was giving the place back. This is entirely speculation because I didn't see it, but that was very weird. Talviti did just seem to randomly slow. But anyway, Max Shepard now back up into the top 10. She's passed Jose Branco, as Ted Ho there sets another fastest lap in the race, trying to pull away from Jeffrey Ruskas. Strange for Talviti though. Remember, Talviti won the first round of the season, but effectively lost the championship when he didn't turn up for round 2. Of course, this championship very much rewards turning up, because you get so... Sorry, just laughed at something I saw there, but anyway. They get so... I've completely forgotten what I was trying to say, my apologies. Martikainen and Drake there appear to have come together again at the chicane. Martikainen really not getting on with that chicane today, is he? I can imagine that Mercedes is just so hard, so tough to slot through that tight gap. Steering still seems to be okay. Doesn't appear to have had too much contact, as Drake locks up a little bit. And now we've got a 3-car scrap as Van der Giest has Majerak and Johnson right in his tail, and to be honest, Lons is right there too. Lons making a recovery drive after his terrible first 2 laps. Ooh, that's wide from Majerak, but swings the car in. Anyway. This is great to see touring car racing at Monaco. Not sure that the Porsche technically counts as a touring car, but it's close enough. And it doesn't have that much of an advantage. In fact, here at Monaco, it certainly doesn't appear to have much of an advantage at all, if any. I was worried after the first round of Bike in the Eki that it was going to be a little bit overpowered. But remember, last time out it was won by a Mustang, and this race is being led by a Mazda, as at present. So, 4-car scrap, Mazurek trying to get up the inside of Van der Geest on the exit, getting it very sideways, but there's just not much traction you can find when you do that. And stays 6th, sorry. This is the best showing we've seen from Mazurek this season though. The Alpha GTA has proven to be one of the least competitive cars so far, but here at Monaco it's proving to be fairly good, fairly competitive. It's quite low compared to some of the other cars of its size, and it's got quite a short wheelbase as well, so that will probably help it with grip and centre of mass here at Monaco, which are very important things. Van der Geest locks up slightly, goes a little wide, but the next corner is the hairpin where it's very much single file. Mazurek, ooh, touches him. Oh, and that's a little bit naughty from Mazurek in my opinion, but anyway, the other three get very much held up as a result. Van der Geest there got tagged a little bit and just got it sideways. Didn't go all the way around, which is good, because otherwise he would probably have got very stuck, Patrese style, but he's managed to keep it going. But yeah, Mazurek there, a little bit opportunistic, tagged him from behind in what really does tend to be a single file corner, but then again, I'm not a steward, so... And of course, another disclaimer I should make is that I've only seen the accident once. Van der Geest, oh my goodness, that was a save and a half there. Almost ended up in the sea. Just swung the car around to the inside and saved it just in time to avoid hitting the barrier, but now he's going to run wide again. And that's going to give Johnson a great run, and Johnson is now up into 7th. Van der Geest appears to be struggling with understeer a little bit. Struggling with handling, definitely. Also, Tyndall's just past Branco for 11th. That's going on outside of the top 10. But still, this fight rages now. Can Van der Geest get his head back in the game? See what he can do again about Johnson. Through Massenet they go. Marshall standing there, looking not very animated with that green flag, but that's okay. Probably has a worn out arm standing there with that green the entire time. Except for on the first lap, which was carnage. Meanwhile, Andy Yates is in the pits. Now I don't know whether that's scheduled or not, it's very early, although remember we do have to, well, everyone here does have to make a pit stop. Come to think of it, I hope the drivers who have joined the league know they need to make a stop. Ho and Shepard, but anyway, they'll probably know when their fuel starts to run out. Down towards the chicane again. Van der Geest, Talviti, Shepard, 8th, 9th and 10th, although Shepard a little way off the, well actually 12 seconds off the tail of them, sorry, I thought he was right there. Never mind. This is Jones, Van der Geest and Talviti that we're watching. 7th, 8th and 9th. Ruska's back within 2 seconds of her, so really still not letting him get away. As there, that was Lons and Mazurek, was it? Yeah, they were getting a bit closer than before. And this is over 5th position. They're a little way ahead of the 7th, 8th, 9th fight. Not really in danger from it now, but they need to make sure as Mazurek slides it out through the corner. That's a great racing technique, although Lons got a better line and a better run out of the corner. Didn't try to make it side by side up through the hill, which is good, because otherwise I guarantee he would have been squished against the wall. Not implying that Mazurek is a bad driver, that's just how those corners go. Oh, Mazurek very, very sideways. You see him leaving. 11s is on the road. And that's going to give Lons better run through these corners, but again, this isn't a place where you can really tend to pull moves. You see, he can't really get a switch back there because the corner's just not profiled for it. As I think Martikainen's had another little incident. Yes, he has. he is upside down. And I think he's in the sea. Indeed, Matikainen, who is also missing a wheel, appears to have had a big crash and is in the sea. So we've had our first major casualty there, who is Kimi Matikainen. The texture's not quite knowing what to do with themselves, and I don't blame them. I did not quite expect to see a car in the sea today, but I think that's probably down at the chicane, where he's been struggling all day. Might well end up being our first retirement, but anyway. So, Mazurek and Lons side by side over 5th place. Lons is the BMW, Mazurek the Alpha. Slight contact into Larascas. And Mazurek keeps the place. That was robust, but he got it. I have to say though, I don't think Mazurek did anything wrong there. He was on the inside and he was right up against the wall. So yeah, that was not Mazurek's fault, and I don't really think it was Lons either. It's just, you know, rubbing his racing when it comes to touring cars like this. Matikainen has now gone back to the pits. I don't know why he was splashing about in the sea for so long, but anyway, sadly that means we don't have any of those Mercedes left in the race. Which is a shame, because I really like those massive Mercedes. They're always great to see. Ooh! Mazurek, I think, tagged the wall there, coming out of Casino Square. Tried to be as unpredictable as possible down towards Mirabeau to avoid Lons getting up alongside him. Now he goes to the outside line. Back to the inside. I also think the yellow flag on the top left of my screen is stuck. Whoa, the leaders. I got a little bit scared there, because again, the leaders were registered as being spun or something as they were going through Larascas, but it's just because that corner is so slow. Lons looks as if he might be about to come back at Mazurek here, but that's not normally... Oh, actually, he might get alongside him. Here's the braking zone. Got to back out of it, surely. He does. That's good to see. And Mazurek doesn't overshoot the corner trying to avoid him. Importantly. Also doesn't overshoot to back, which is an easy corner to make a mistake at. I think Talviti's having an incident. Yep, Talviti's slow out of the chicane. Might be about to be passed by Shepard. And what's happening with... Well, Van de Gies is in the pits. Okay, so we do have some stoppers. Oh! And something's happened with Lons. My apologies for missing that. Lons, of course, was fighting with Mazurek. They came together at that very corner a lap ago, and they may have done so again because Lons was pointing backwards, and Van de Gies retires from the race. And that's a big shame because Van de Gies could well have taken the lead of the championship today, but no more. He's become our second retirement. So it looks as if that wasn't a scheduled pit stop there. He may have ended up in the sea as well, I don't know. But that is a big shame for John Van de Gies, one of the main championship protagonists in the beautiful Rusty Escort. So we're approaching the point where I'm expecting the pit stops to take place. I'm just going to look on the forum actually to remind myself of whether the mandatory pit stop is indeed mandatory, as Johnson runs a little wide. I'm pretty sure it's mandatory, although I don't want to have got that wrong. They did a vote in it earlier that season. Earlier this season, sorry. And indeed, mandatory pit stop won by 10 votes to 2, meaning yes, indeed, there was a mandatory pit stop. Which is required. And those will probably start to take place soon. Now the pits are actually on a very different part of the circuit to where you'd expect them to be. They're not on the start-finish straight. So if I've ever referred to them as the pit straight, I'm technically wrong. That is of course where the pits are now, although back in the day, the pits were actually just before the chicane. You've probably seen some cars stopped there at various points in this race already. But, yeah. Kimi Diesel says, hello from the bottom of the sea, Caitlin. So I presume that was Kimi Matikainen, who we saw in the ocean. Still don't entirely know how that happened. Kimi, could you let us know what actually went wrong? But, anyway. Big shame to see him out of the race so early, but a pretty spectacular way to end it. Raccoon, joining us also in the YouTube chat, says, "Hi, what happened to Van der Geest?" Honestly, I don't know. I saw that his car was in the pits. I don't know whether he drove in or whether he teleported in, but whatever the case, he has retired from the race. He was struggling with handling a bit earlier, so maybe that just became a little too much for that car. I really have no way of telling at this point in time. So it seems that everyone has spread out a little bit in this race, so let's watch our race leader, Ted Hurt. In fact, let's go on board and see how he does it, and how this promising driver is navigating the classic Monaco circuit. I believe that this is his first race in SimRacingOnline full stop, as he was only introduced to the league recently by his rival Max Shepard. Tony Talviti in the pits, meanwhile, from 9th place. Indeed, this is his first SimRacingOnline event. Jeffrey Ruskas is running second. He actually won last time out at Interlagos. He also recently won a race at the Nürburgring for SimRacingOnline, driving a Porsche 911R, so that's a more modern version of the Porsche 911 than the ones that are in this race. And he also, earlier this year, won the ACC FKR Prep Series, and Hose spun it! Hose hit the wall! And that means that Jeffrey Ruskas retakes the lead of the race. It just looked like Ho got it slightly out of shape into the chicane, tagged the wall with his rear, and spun the car around. It's an easy mistake to make. I'm not surprised that someone's made that today, as Branko gets sideways. But yeah, that means Jeffrey Ruskas retakes the lead of the race. That is a big mistake for Ted Hurt. I don't think he's going to pick up any damage from that. As I said, of course, it tends to be quite lenient on damage. But that was a bad lap from Ted Hurt. So Ruskas leads from Hurt, then it's Lacquer, Galuzzi and Mazurek, the top 5, although still all of these drivers yet to stop. Kimi Diesel types, I went a bit wide at the chicane, car was halfway off the pier, and I almost saved it, but the computer said no, and into the sea I went. Big shame, sorry to see you out of the race. Thijs Lepstra says, let's go Ruskas. Well, Ruskas is now back in the lead of the race, so you're cheering for the right driver here. Dr. Doomslab has just commented. Great to see you here, Dr. Doomslab. Dr. Doomslab, if you don't know, designed the GPL cars for the Grand Prix Legends series we did recently, and may have also designed these TC Legends cars. I'm not entirely sure. I should have done more research on that. But anyway, he says, hi, fantastic to see the cars being used. Shame I tuned in late. We'll have to watch from the start. Cheers. Yeah, thanks for joining in, Dr. Doomslab. I love your stuff. And yeah, great to see you enjoying this this race and SimRacingOnline using your cars, or at least I presume they're your cars anyway. Harry's got some traffic there as he heads into the pits and almost spins it coming into his pit box, and he overshoots his box, so that's more time lost. But Toto there, I don't think he was expecting to have one of the first pit boxes, but anyway, stops his car. That means that Lacco will temporarily take second, and Galuzzi will temporarily take third. Toto, one of the first leaders to stop, as all the drivers who have previously made pit stops have been further down the order. Now, when does Ruskas pit, and how much of a gap will he have over her? It seems to just be that her's concentration is going away a little in this race, and that may be costing him. Now, ignore that car behind Lacco. That is a driver who is a lap down, I believe. That may be Vasilis. No, I think it's Sid Drake. Perhaps him for continuing in this race despite being a lap down, though. Always good to see. Interestingly, Hers actually come out ahead of Galuzzi, despite the fact Galuzzi is yet to make a stop. So that just shows you how much of an advantage the leaders had in this race already. Ruskas now has a 19-second lead ahead of Lacco. Getting pretty close between Lons and Mazurek. That's over 5th place. Lons trying to gain some points back in the championship. Galuzzi is going to be gaining on him at this rate, even though there is 21 points between the two of them in the league. So I think Lund's is actually going to come away from this with quite a comfortable lead, to be honest. Oh, and I think something just happened to Talviti. Where's he? That's at Portier. Well, I don't know quite how he managed to find himself on the left of the track at Portier. That's a very unusual one. But anyway, Lons does slide up the inside of Mazurek. Mazurek trying to come back at him on the outside, but surely there's not going to be any room through there. Lacko's in the pits from second. And, oh, Mazurek bids, big save. Big save. He's going to lose about maybe 0.8 of a second in that. Oh! What the heck? Well, we've got Talviti in the sea. And that's one way to enter your pit box. Goodness me. It looks to me as if he just didn't steer, just came into the pits and flew into the ocean. That was really strange. But anyway, manages to stop in his books somehow. Laurent Lund's also in the pits now. Don't actually think that'll cost Talviti that much time. In fact, he now returns to the race. So strange. Anyway, that's our second car we've seen upside down in the ocean now. Hopefully we don't see too many more over the course of today. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before. Quite famously, of course, Alberto Ascari ended up in the ocean back in 1955. Survived it with just a broken nose, but died 4 days later in a separate accident. There was also a Formula 3 driver who went into the ocean there, and Max Shepard's had a spin! Oh no! Shepard was making such a good recovery drive. And she's going to lose a couple of places in that, I feel. Come on, spin turn it. Jeffrey Ruskus is in the pits from the lead. Come on, Mac. There we go. I think she's got it facing the right direction, and off she goes again. Props to her for continuing. Jeffrey Ruskus now exiting the pits. Don't know whether he managed to stop it in his box safely or not. But he now has what I think will be about 5.5 seconds of a gap over Ted Ho. Maybe a little bit under that. We'll have to wait for the gap to sort itself out. And Ho will be kicking himself because I don't... Oh god, I've got the hiccups again. Because I don't think that Ruskus... Oh god, sorry. My apologies. Okay, as I was saying, I don't think that Ho... Or that Ruskus would have been able to get through if Ted hadn't had those spins. Or rather, that one spin. And also the overshooting of the pit box, which probably cost him about a second or two. But anyway, still in the race, and it's still very much not over yet because we have 24 minutes and a few seconds remaining. Mark Johnson, I think, is about to pass Michal Mazurek into Laraskas. Switchback, maybe? He's going to have a run down the straight because that Porsche we know is so slippery through the air. And I think Mazurek's going to keep it into Sandevort. No, actually, Johnson has the inside line and gets it done. So good move for 5th place there from Mark Johnson. Well done. Incidentally, the gap for the lead is 5 seconds now. So about 4.5 seconds between them. And it really is not over yet, but it's going to be tough for anyone to jump up. Tyndall and Grewcock also made stops on that lap. So they are now 9th and 10th in the order, I think. Don't know if Sid Drake's going to get up into the top 10. He might actually, depends. No, I think Grewcock's going to keep 10th at this rate. Oh! Well, I'm not sure he knew those marshals were solid, but anyway. I've also had an incident, Drake and Branco, and they're going to need to get out of the way there. Yes, they do, phew. Because the next car coming through the chicane was going to be Lacko in 3rd place, so I'm glad they got out of the way in time. Lorenzo Galuzzi now into the pits from 4th position. As Ted Ho sets the fastest lap of the race, so he is now pushing to try to get back onto the tail of Jeffrey Ruskas and salvage what he lost. There's no points for fastest lap, but he needs to catch the leader if he's going to win this race. Michal Mazurek also into the pits from 6th. Galuzzi back out in 5th. Now, I don't think Johnson's pitted yet, so I don't think that's representative, but I may be wrong. Lunds has pitted, so he is now past Mazurek. as expected. And Mazurek, I think... Oh! And another driver has forgotten that you have to steer around marshals. Hopefully that isn't damaging these cars too much. It's definitely costing them time. Yeah, those marshals are very, very solid. They've been eating their eggs, let's put it that way. Of course, I'm pretty sure it was actually a marshal that Laurent Lons went bouncing off at the start of the race on lap 2 as well. So you don't want to mess with these bodybuilder marshals. Yates in the pits as well. Don't know if that's scheduled or whether he's retiring. I'll have to keep an eye on that. That's a nice view, heading towards the tunnel. Not sure quite when the tunnel was extended, but yeah, there was definitely a time where it was shorter than it is now, and this is in that time frame, in that time period. Also not sure when that bump at Tobacco is removed. There's a big pile-up at Tobacco in 1950. It was only the second World Championship Formula 1 Grand Prix in history. And a wave came over the seawall and made it really, really slippery there. It was like someone had dropped oil, as Johnson put. And a load of priceless 1950s Formula 1 cars all piled into each other. No one was hurt, but it did mean that not really that many cars finished the race that year. And that was one of the... I believe that was actually Juan Manuel Fangio's first Formula 1 victory. But anyway, when these cars were racing in the 60s and 70s, Formula 1 was still going here, and that's why we're actually using the 1970s version of this track, because it's era representative, era accurate. Johnson out of the pits in 6th place, so Galuzzi is 4th and Lons is 5th. So, with 20 minutes of this race to go, let's take you through the order. Jeffrey Ruskus leads the race by 2.3 seconds. That's come a long way down. Ted Hur is really catching him in the Mazda. Ted Hur is 2nd. Does he get the chicane right? Yes, he does. Maxime Tendil a lap down in 9th. Couple of cars in the pits. Bill Grucock, lap down in 10th. Sid Drake. Shabalako about to lap Drake. Let's see if that goes cleanly. Hona within 2 seconds of Ruskus. And that is getting very, very tense. His last lap was 1.5 seconds faster than Ruskus. Goodness me, he's catching. And this race is definitely not over yet. Still... Oh, Drake locking up a bit there. Oh, and look at that! Oh my goodness, Lacko almost got absolutely cleaned out there by Jose Branco. Somehow managed to just avoid it, although he ran wide. I think possibly in reaction to that, Branco is a lap down to Lacko, and that would not have gone down well if they'd come together there. Branco did bounce off the wall, although I don't think that's going to affect him too much. Would have done more so if he'd taken out one of the drivers a lap ahead of him. Props to Drake actually. He's really keeping up with Lacko. It's not like he's holding him up or anything. He is moving at a decent rate of knots, so that it looks as if he's giving him weight. So Lacko goes about his business in 3rd place. There's Drake, Jose Branco. Lorenzo Galuzzi is running 4th through Massani. Tony Talviti having an awful time. He's the last remaining runner because Andy Yates has retired. So I honestly don't know what's happened to the driver who won the first race of the season. Obviously, I mean, surely he's not been practicing enough for this this round. Laurent Lons running 5th. Scheduled to extend his championship lead, I think. Although that's only unofficial, of course, because I do not have a calculator on me. And even if I did, I am not that good at quick arithmetics. Well, I am, but not when I'm commentating at the same time. Mark Johnson running 6th, still on the lead lap in that camel liveried Porsche. Those cameras seem to be bugging out a bit. Michal Mazurek running 7th in the number 8. Max Shepard 8th. Had a very up and down race so far. But she continues on her way over the curb. That was brave. Down towards the hairpin. Look at the unprotected tree on the inside. Wouldn't want to hit that. Back to Ruskas and her. The gap is less than 1.5 seconds now. 1.3 heading into the hairpin. And this is getting close. But Harry's now at a stage where he can't really get much closer to Ruskas because, well, his car's in the way. So if he's going to go for it, he's going to have to go for a move. Some drivers setting their personal best laps of the race. Lauren Lons just did it. Pulling away from Mark Johnson still, although pretty much running on his own in this race, judging by the times. Apologies about the dog in the background. He's as excited for this lead battle as I am, and just can't contain his anticipation. Into the Raskas, 16 minutes to go in this race, and the leaders are pretty much nose to tail. This is the most exciting race of the season so far. Monaco does tend to throw up races like this. We may end up with a Senna and Mansell style finish, but we shall see. Up through Sandevot, and it's come to within a second. For the first time since her spin, it's within a second, and they are properly locking horns now. Ruskas and her. Ruskas not quite feeling the need to defend just yet, but he may, well, feel it soon because her is breathing down his neck. If he hadn't had that spin, I can almost guarantee he would be leading this race right now. They touched! The leaders touched again! Ruskas was not going very fast through that chicane, and her gave him a slight tap. Fair enough though, no harm, no foul. It was close though. I was so worried that Ruskas was going to be pitched sideways like we saw happening to Van der Geest earlier on. But anyway, everyone's still okay except for the 3 drivers who have retired from this race. Sadly, you have to say, Tumanis and Talviti aren't really in this race either at the minute. They're just kind of doing it to see the checkered flag and pick up any points that they can, and maybe practice for next round, but anyway. Or they're trying to get a better exit to Ruskas out of Laraskas. That's tough to say, actually. Ruskas out of Laraskas. Towards Sandevot. Whose lap was 0.6 of a second faster. He is catching so fast. If he is to improve by the same amount on this lap, he's going to pass Jeffrey Ruskas. But we all know it's one thing to catch a car and another thing to pass them. Especially at a tight and twisty circuit like Monaco. There aren't many overtaking opportunities. Ruskas needs to be watching his mirrors, and her needs to be brave, but also sensible. Because if you mess it up here, you both end up in the seat, which isn't very comfortable. I remember one race I saw here a while ago with modern single-seaters, where a single-seater went off at the top of Casino Square and actually fell pretty much down the cliff. Luckily that hasn't happened in real life. Touch wood. Lauren Lons is really pushing, actually. He said again his fastest lap of the race. Not the fastest lap of the race, that's still belonging to Ted Hurt, although definitely his personal best. And he's trying to reel in Lorenzo Galuzzi, which is going to be a tough job because there's 5.6 seconds between them. Now here comes Laraskas, and this corner I think is going to be the best chance that her will have of getting the lead back. Good evening to Zero Bandwidth, who I've commentated with in the past, who says, well, this is a lucky time to tune into an SRO broadcast. This will be a good few minutes here from here on end. Indeed it will. If you're only just joining us, Ruskas and Ho have been fighting since the start of the race. Ho led the race but then had a spin, and now he's trying to get back past Jeffrey Ruskas to become the third different winner from 3 races here with the SRO TC Legends Championship at Monaco. We've had a couple of cars that have ended up in the sea so far. Martikainen did so, Van der Geest may have done, although all we know is that he retired. Same goes for Yates, and now Dumanis actually, who's retired from the race since last time I mentioned. Also Talviti had a brief trip into the sea. That may actually be why he's so far down the order. I wonder whether the game put him back a lap due to that. But anyway. Oh, he's so close to Ruskas. There's just no way through here, but remember, the move he pulled before was coming out of Larascas. He got a better accelerator to back, got side-by-side into Larascas, got the switch back, with side-by-side all the way up to Sandevort, and managed to make it stick on the entry. It was fantastic to see, and he will be trying to do the same thing again, but you have to remember, Ruskas will be wiser to it now, trying to make his car wider, and make sure that he doesn't mess up the exit of Larascas again, because he knows that I will be right on top of him. Listen to that rotary engine Mazda as he kicks the throttle out of the final corner at Larascas. Across the start-finish line, 0.3 of a second faster was that lap from her. But still, struggling to find a way through. We're approaching the final 10 minutes of the race, just 1/6 of it remaining. Max Shepard, incidentally, has also caught up to the back of Michal Masarek. That's going on for 7th place. We'll probably miss anything if it does happen. Jose Branco's also just past Bill Grewcock for P12. Sorry, for P11. Grewcock's now back into P12. They're both running a lap down. Goodness. Oh, I think there was a slight touch again there. A squeal of tyres from her into the... Oh, that's so close there on the exit of the chicane. Into Portier, who's right there. Almost touching him again, just as he did earlier in this race. Through the tunnel, I love the echo of that Mustang engine. Brilliant acoustics in there. It's just round enough and just narrow enough to make the cars echo at just the right frequency. Over the crest again. Decent exit for Ruskas. That's the most important thing to him, because this is his best chance. Masarek, meanwhile, and Shepard are, I think, side by side further back, so I'll try to keep an eye on what's going on between them. In fact, this lead scrap is actually approaching them on track. They're only just up the road. Into Sandevort. The gap that time around, pretty much as it was, just under a second. Attacking range, but only if you're brave enough, and if your opponent sees you coming. Masarek seems to have held off Shepard for the time being. They were side by side. Now, I don't know who parks their cars on the outside there. Did you see the car park on the outside of Massenet? I wouldn't want to leave mine there in a race like this, to be honest. There is an Armco barrier there, but I wouldn't trust a flimsy... Oh, and who... Oh, my... Well, what's happened? Well, he's still in the race. Okay, so that's a false alarm. It looked as if Ho was spinning, and then it seemed to be a glitch, and he's still there. So luckily, everything's okay from Ho. But that got the heart rate racing a little bit. Goodness me. Don't do that, Assetto Corsa. Wow. Or whatever the case, Ted Ho is still in the race, and he probably has no idea that anything just happened. Zero Bandwidth says, that was an attempted alien abduction, but Ho's back with us. Indeed! I thought he was spinning. I thought he'd lost control and was going into the wall or something, but he's okay. And as I said, I don't think he actually knew that anything. And I think Shepard and Masarek may have just came together. No. So Masarek stays ahead. So it's just that they swapped places, and then Majerek's name came up as red. But they're still okay. They're fighting over 7th and 8th positions. Majerek still 7th. Shepard looking for any way he can to get through. 7 minutes to go. Hopefully this doesn't come down to a last lap lunge from her, because that could end in tears. And if it did, it may end up being Shabalako that wins this race, even though he's almost half a minute behind now. There you see the badly parked cars that I was talking about. I think one of them was a Citroen DS. Also a rather nastily parked truck on the outside. Has Shepard finally got past Majerek? He's on the outside of the hairpin. Lucky not to get crowded into the wall, but that's a good move from Shepard actually. Right round the outside of the loose hairpin. Wow. Great move. So Shepard puts the power down and starts to get away from Majerek. That was really well done from her there. Majerek may have a chance to come back. The lead is again within half a second. Oh my god. And Majerek up the inside. Has to back out of it. Let's go back to the leaders now. Raskas and her. You can see how close they are to lapping that scrap for 6th actually, so hopefully they don't get held up too much if they do end up lapping them. I think they might just about be okay though. They might just about have enough gap between them to avoid having to get past. Hurry to the left. On driver's left rather. In the yellow Mazda. Oh, they're rubbing each other. They're leaning on each other into the Raskas. Wide goes Raskas. Does Hurry let him have the corner? Yes, he does. Goodness, they were leaning on each other all the way through there. Managed to keep it out of the hay bales. But that was a little bit naughty there. Now surely this lap Hurry's going to go for it again. He knows that time's running out. 5 minutes to go in the race. Left-hander. Into the right of Casino Square. Zero Bandwidth commenting, if one or the other is lagging, they might not have had any idea what was happening until the cars reacted. That's a good point. I think it may just be on my screen though. Potentially. As I was also having some lags at Interlagos, but I thought those were just the cameras. But anyway. This is a thrilling scrap, a thrilling fight to the flag. You rarely get this in racing. But it's happening today with Raskas versus her. Now you may be wondering why I'm not pronouncing it as Ted Hoff. I asked, well I didn't ask him, but I asked Max Shepard, who asked him, so I suppose I indirectly asked him. And he said it's actually pronounced her. So the GH and the U in fact are pretty silent. Now what about this time into La Raskas? Braking and keeps it out of the rear bumper of the Mustang. Always good. Raskas putting the power down so early there. You can tell that he's really feeling under pressure, and so he should be. This is a Senna Mansell style fight. Up the hill again. There will probably be more laps here than at any other circuit this season, because I think it's the longest track. Maybe close between this and Poznan. I'm not entirely sure how long Willow Springs is. Poznan, of course, longer in terms of distance, but I don't know if it is in terms of track time, or lap time rather. But I suppose we shall see. Back in the day in the Monaco Grand Prix they used to run 100 laps. And in fact today, when it's shortened, it's actually not technically a full Grand Prix distance. It's just because it would take too long to do the full 100 laps these days. And TVs ain't got time for that. But today it's 1 hour as always. Down into the chicane they go again. I'd have loved to see what this race would have been like with the more modern chicane, which is more of an overtaking opportunity. That would have been quite thrilling to see. But even so, the chicane's thrown up some action. Right on its rear bumper. They're going to get 2 more laps, I think. Depending on what the timer says when they cross the line. Ooh, Ruskas looks up and Ho's fire on the inside and they make contact. They're rubbing on each other again. They lean on each other again for the... And they bang doors and into the wall. Into the wall goes Ruskas and he flashes his lights at Ho. He is not happy about that one. They bounce off each other, but Ho doesn't appear to be backing off, so he doesn't feel that it's his fault. And actually, I was just looking back on it, and it looks as if they came across on each other. I don't think that was Ho's fault, or Ruskas', so I think that's fair enough for Ted Ho, who leads the race, but Ruskas may disagree and may protest that. But anyway, it's Ho who leads the race again from Ruskas after so many laps of trying. I think that we're going to get 1 more lap after this one, because Ruskas is going to push Ho hard and not let him back. Oh, and there's more contact and they go around! They're stopped! Oh my goodness! And Ho is in the wall at the Lowe's hairpin. Ruskas gets it running and he backs off. And Ho goes back through into the lead. He's on the outside. But Ruskas was sportingly letting him through. It looks as if they just touched mid-corner. Absolute drama. The leaders have come together twice in 1 lap here. Now what can Ruskas do about getting him back fairly? Down in the chicane, there's surely not going to be an opportunity there. Keep your head on, boys. You can do this. Zero Bandwidth says, I got that pronunciation wrong as well and was corrected in another race. Ho's not out of the woods. His car's more agile than the Mustang, but he has far more bite out of the corners onto the straights. Classy from Ruskas, still sore from the first contact, but conceding the second. Absolutely, that was very classy from Ruskas. Final lap now. Possibly smoked up the tyres a little bit too much there, did Ruskas. Wait, no, that's the checkered flag. So indeed, and that's because there was... Oh, it was because of the incident. That's what threw me off. The incident meant that they crossed the line after the checkered flag wave. So Ho wins, followed by Ruskas after a brilliant fight to the flag, which almost ended in tears. They collided a couple of times, but they've managed to keep first and second place. Shabalaka is third. Good drive from him. Lorenzo Galuzzi is going to be fourth in the Toyota. And what a race that was, going right down to the wire. That's been my favourite Sim Racing Online race in a long, long way. Lorenzo Galuzzi, P4. Lauren Lyons will be P5. And I think will extend his championship lead depending on if Galuzzi jumps Van de Geest, Jones, Lacko, etc. Actually, no, I think Lacko might be leading the championship. No, I think it's still going to be Lunds, but Lacko is definitely going to be closer than before. So Lunds 5th in the race. Mark Johnson's going to be 6th. Max Shepard, decent performance, although a little bit accident prone, in P7. Michal Mazurek will cross the line in P8 in the GTA. And then it will be Tendil, Drake, Grukok, Branko, and Talviti will be the last driver to swim. Look at that, there's a car floating. Oh my word. Well, we're not in the sea, we're under the track. And I think we're under Mirabeau. That's so strange. How has he managed to get down there? I don't know, but I don't think he's going to be able to finish this way. And he's doing donuts. Oh my god. What a finish to the race. So Ho wins, followed by Ruskas, Lacko, Galuzzi, Lund, Johnson, Shepard, Mazurek, Tendil, Drake. So Ruskas was not quite able to goes before Ho. That was awful. I'm so sorry. But anyway, who managed to make an impact on his debut, just as Ruskus did last time we were at Interlagos. What a fantastic race, which went right down to the wire. The winning margin in the end, 1.0989 seconds. And you don't get much closer than that in a 1 hour race. Anyway, that's the lot for now. And I will see you in 2 weeks' time. Let me just have a look at what track we will be at. I'm sure it will be just as exciting as this one, though, because SimRacingOnline always produces great races. It is Mexico, the 1967 version of the Mexico City circuit, today known as the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez. Anyway, that's the lot from Monaco, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I will see you again in 2 weeks' time. Good night.